are rounding out the first weekend of spring, and we have a lot to unpack and in the know. In fact, spring flooding is the topic of discussion here. We're also going to have a look at your forecast. Parts of the Maritimes, including New Brunswick, certainly getting a taste of that spring flooding as all that snowfall we've seen over the course of the winter really doing the melting job now, thanks to some very warm temperatures we've seen in recent days. I mean, take a look at some of these visuals. And of course, another big spring flooding factor is the ice jams, and a good look at here in New Brunswick again. Again, a lot of our spring flooding focus in the past few days has had our eyeballs on the Maritimes, but of course this is a problem countrywide. Take a look here in Quebec as we're getting a nice overhead shot of some of that standing water. And yeah, it's really just that time of year. Other parts of Quebec also in a similar boat with the ice jams. And here to break it all down is meteorologist Rhythm Reet. My name is Matt Hamel. Happy to be here with you for this edition of In the Know. And Rhythm, that's the topic of discussion, spring flooding. And there's a couple different variables we need to track when we're talking about this.
And you kind of hit them very well so far, Matt, in that intro. When we are talking about some of those factors when it comes to spring flooding, it is going to be further snowfall and the snowpack, how large it is, the rate of snowmelt in the springtime, and of course that spring precipitation. Now we are going to be talking about that spring precipitation in just a second, but taking a look at the snow on the ground currently, a lot of that melting beginning in Atlantic Canada, very sparse in southern Ontario, but northern Ontario, the prairies, and even BC still looking at a healthy snowpack. One of the places that will be seeing some of that snow and that springtime precipitation is, well, the Maritimes. You're getting a second burst of snow heading into Tuesday, but the rainfall that accompanies on the back end, that's going to be some more concern across regions of Nova Scotia. Now, southern Ontario, we've seen those spring-like temperatures. Of course, that warm up that came earlier, or rather in the middle of last week, caused a lot of that melting, but the cold air is returning. Now, with the cold air returning, we will be looking at those temperatures down to the minus negatives through Sunday. However, those milder temperatures that will move in will cause a lot more of that slower snow melt once again, already quite sparse. And the reason that we're getting a slower snow melt is because there's another clipper tracking into southern Ontario through Sunday into Monday, bringing a rain-snow mix, mainly snow for northeastern Ontario and into Quebec as well, where southern Ontario sees that rain. So we're getting a second burst of snowfall, and then on the back end, those milder temperatures move in, and that's going to be some cause when it comes to flooding, as well as more of that snow melt that occurs.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about some of those temperatures we've already seen in the range of 20 degrees above freezing. And so, yeah, no surprise, that's kind of that rapid snowmelt, whereas now not quite seeing those warm temperatures in eastern Canada. So any melting snow with seasonal temperatures should be a little more gradual, which I suppose is just a little more manageable when you have that gradual melt. Rhythm, what other parts of the country, or what other factors are we watching with the spring flooding threats?
Well, like you mentioned in the beginning, Matt, ice jams, those are quite notorious this time of year. Most common when you have that prolonged cold temperature. The thawing ice breaks free and flows downstream, causing a jam and causing the water to outflow. But one place that we're looking for some flooding is going to be across western portions of Canada. Heavy rainfall, low elevation snowpack, and those rising freezing temperatures, that is what's happening in British Columbia. An atmospheric river impacting the region with a ridge building on the back end is expected to bring heavy rainfall within about 72 hours, upwards of 150 millimeters for the Vancouver Island, as well as 75 millimeters for the lower mainland. So flash flooding is going to be a concern.